At the point when you are experimenting, individuals around you are so savvy. They will explain to you 1,000,000 motivations behind why you will come up short. 5. Have certainty. Make child strides. At the point when you set out on a major test, it very well may be terrifying. To beat this, make little strides. Steps you can achieve, to take you towards your objective. At the point when Scratch was a youngster, he needed to get something from up on a high rack, however he was unable to arrive at it. He asked his mom, and she said, "Get it yourself." Scratch was unsettled. How should he, a little kid without any arms and legs, get this thing from that high rack? He checked out, saw a little slow down, so he jumped over and figured out how to push the slow down across the room. Then, he expected to get on the slow down. He was frightened it was high, he might fall. Be that as it may, he needed the thing, so he bounced and arrived on the slow down. So presently, he was on the slow down on his stomach, under the rack. He expected to get up standing, there was a side of another rack, he could reach with his shoulder. He pushed against the rack with his head and shoulder, energetically. It truly hurt, yet he couldn't have cared less, he truly needed the thing. He got up and with his teeth, he could simply arrive at his objective. He extended and took it in mouth. He had accomplished his objective. Also, what was the thing? I don't have the foggiest idea. Scratch didn't tell us or I missed it, apologies. 6. Help yourself to remember your fantasy. It's critical to help yourself to remember your fantasy, why you do what you do and to give you inspiration to make a move consistently. As a youngster, Scratch and his family generally implored before supper. They petitioned God for those that couldn't take care of themselves. This had motivated him, he needed to take care of hungry kids. At his father's course, Scratch went to college to concentrate on bookkeeping. His father said, "You have no arms and no legs, yet you have a mind." Scratch's father told him, he was unable to get things done for himself, so his entire life he will require individuals to help him. How might he do this? His father's recommendation was to maintain a business, get workers and pay the representatives to help him. How old was Scratch when his father told him this? 6 years of age. Scratch concentrated on finance and the financial exchange. He learned you can utilize cash to bring in cash, he thought it was perfect. At college, he watched the financial exchange for a really long time and saw a pattern in Dunlop tires. Their stock cost was tumbling from 73 to 72 a.m., ascending to 74 p.m. and dropping back to 73 every evening. So each day, he would go to the PC in the college, purchase Dunlop stock in the first part of the day and sell in the early evening, before the cost returned down. To propel himself, he put a photograph of a vagrant in the mirror in his room, to remind himself he was doing it to help her. Gracious, and Scratch presently runs 3 non-benefit associations. 7. Never surrender. At the point when you have a fantasy, a reason, you need to pursue it. Making progress won't come effectively, when you face disappointment and dismissal, you need to continue onward. After Scratch gave his most memorable talk, when he saw a young lady crying at his words, his motivation was conceived. He was to be a rousing speaker. He must show restraint, he completed college, and earned his education. Then the time had come to follow his fantasy. He set off to be a speaker, however he had no deals preparing, no showcasing experience and no site. He began calling neighborhood schools, letting them know what his identity was and what he did. He got dismissed, over and over and once more. He called 52 schools and bombed multiple times to get employed as a speaker. However, each time he called and fizzled, he improved. On the 53rd call, something odd occurred. At the point when Scratch inquired as to whether they needed a powerful orator, rather than dismissal, they said, "We'll get back to you." They got back to him and said, "All right." He requested that they pay him $50 and they said, "All right." Be that as it may, when he checked the guide, it turned out the school was miles away. He needed to pay his sibling to take him there. What amount did he pay his sibling? $50. On the way there, his sibling asked Scratch the number of individuals he that was conversing with. Scratch didn't have the foggiest idea. His sibling asked how long he was representing. Scratch didn't have the foggiest idea. At the point when he arrived, it turned out he was addressing 10 individuals for 5 minutes. Scratch felt horrible, being a finished exercise in futility and effort was going. At the point when he returned home that evening, he cried in his bed. He believed he was never going to make it. The following day Scratch got a call. It was another school. They required him to discuss harassing. Somebody from the school, where he had given his discussion, thought he had spoken all around well, and had suggested him. This time he was talking for 20 minutes to 100 individuals. From that point he got many references. His talking profession had at last begun, his fantasies were materializing. The 7 standards and how to accomplish them. Scratch Vujicic gave us his 7 standards for outcome throughout everyday life and business. Esteem yourself. You need to attempt to follow through with something. Disappointment is essential for schooling. It requires investment. Certainty with gradual steps. Help yourself to remember your fantasy. Never surrender. To follow up on these standards, Scratch said, you must have mental fortitude. What is fortitude? Is it not having dread? No, fortitude is beating dread. To give a model, Scratch let us know he planned to leap off the table. At the point when Scratch gave his discussion, he was on a table, so everybody could see him. The table was around 3 foot high and Scratch has no arms and no legs, so this truly would be something. Most likely he would arrive all over. Scratch made sense of how you must have fortitude. He gave us a tale about having boldness and how he had overcome his trepidation. As he talked, he went this way and that towards the table edge. He asked us how terrible do you need your objective? For what reason do you need it? Why you follow through with something that takes mental fortitude is significant. You want areas of strength for an objective to conquer your trepidation. Find your motivation and make an objective. Make it something you truly need to do, not something only for the cash. Gain from somebody that does what you need to do it perpetually. Scratch went increasingly close to the table edge and afterward he halted. He had no justifiable excuse to leap off the table edge. Scratch kidded, in the event that he leaped off he could break his arm. How could he leap off? In the event that there was fire in the room, indeed, he would have a reason, he would bounce. However, right then he had no reason, all in all nothing remained to be pushed him past his trepidation. To pursue something you need to do, you really want boldness. To have mental fortitude you want an objective and reason. How many of Nick's principles do you already follow? Will you use these steps to impact your life? Comment down below. Thank you very much.